Okay, so maybe you're thinking about the time traveler's wife, but like not sure if it's worth the time, with all the other books out there?
So many books.
Right. Like, is this one going to be worth it?
Exactly.
Well, today we are going to be looking at a professional review from Fantasy Book Review, and then we're also going to be looking at a whole bunch of reader reviews on Goodreads,
Yeah.
just to kind of give you the full picture
Get a sense of the book.
and help you decide, like, is this a book for me or not?
Yeah, is this something you want to spend your time with?
Yeah.
And to be completely upfront, Fantasy Book Review was not a fan.
Really?
They gave it a 5 out of 10,
Oof.
ultimately saying skip it.
Wow. Okay.
But on Goodreads, it's averaging 4 stars.
Interesting.
So already we've got some differing opinions going on here.
Yeah, because that's pretty high on Goodreads.
Yeah.
Like a 4-star average.
Yeah, 4 stars is usually a pretty good sign.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So why the difference?
Yeah, what's going on here?
So, first of all, just the basics. What's this book even about?
It's a love story,
Like-
but with a time travel twist.
Okay, I like where this is going.
So we have our main character, Henry, and he has this rare genetic condition that causes him to involuntarily travel through time.
Oh, wow.
He can't control it. He doesn't know when it's going to happen, where he's going to end up. And then we have Claire, who falls in love with him.
And so I'm already a little confused.
Okay.
Because, like, if he's just disappearing all the time,
Right.
how do they build a relationship? Like, how does that even work?
And that is where Audrey Niffenegger, the author, gets a lot of praise because her writing is very strong. The Fantasy Book Review, even while not liking the book overall, did acknowledge how well she wove together all these different timelines in the story.
Oh, okay.
Because it's not just a linear story.
Okay.
We are going back and forth through time as Henry is traveling.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That sounds pretty cool. But I have seen some people on Goodreads complaining about the writing. They're saying it's, like, tedious and, like, overly detailed.
Yeah, that's definitely a common complaint.
Like, who needs pages about grocery lists?
Right.
I want to be swept away by the story, you know?
want to get lost in it.
Yeah, not bogged down in all of my new shit.
Exactly. And some people did feel that the descriptions were excessive and kind of took away from the emotional impact of the story.
Okay, so mixed reviews on the writing style, I guess we could say.
Yeah.
What about the characters, though? Like,
Right.
is Henry a good guy? Is he, like, a romantic hero? Or is he kind of a mess because of this whole time-traveling situation?
Fantasy Book Review did not hold back.
Oh, no.
They called him a womanizing playboy.
Oh, dear.
And a lot of the Goodreads reviewers kind of echoed those sentiments.
Okay.
And they point out that because of his time traveling, he's often put in these compromising situations.
Okay.
You know, he arrives naked a lot of the time. He doesn't have anything with him.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he often shows up without clothes.
Naked.
Yeah.
Okay, I did not see that coming.
He has to steal clothes, food, just to survive.
Okay, that's a little strange.
Not the typical romantic hero.
No, not really. And I have to ask about the whole, like, consent issue.
Right.
Because if he's popping up in front of people naked,
Yeah.
like, how is that not creepy?
And that's a valid point. And that was definitely something that a lot of readers debated.
Yeah.
And the book does kind of explore the power dynamics in their relationship, especially since Claire first meets Henry when she's really young and he's significantly older.
Oh, wow.
And he kind of keeps appearing to her throughout her childhood, which
Wow.
some people found a little unsettling,
Yeah, it's a little weird.
even if his intentions were good.
Yeah, I could see how that would make some people uncomfortable.
It's definitely not your typical meet cute.
No, not at all. What about Claire, though? Like, is she a strong character? Does she have her own thing going on?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Or is she just kind of like along for the ride with Henry and his time traveling?
And this is where people had really different opinions. Some readers loved Claire. They thought she was a strong, artistic woman who chooses to love Henry despite all of these challenges.
Okay.
They saw their love as like this epic, enduring love that went beyond time. It was really romantic to them.
Okay.
But then others felt like she wasn't developed enough as a character. They wanted to see more of her own journey, her passions, her struggles.
Okay.
And that's a valid point. Like,
yeah.
the book is told more from Henry's perspective, so maybe that gives us the impression that Claire is not as well-rounded of a character.
That's fair.
Yeah. They wanted to see more of what she was about outside of being the time traveler's wife.
Yeah.
Like, what are her dreams?
Right, exactly.
What are her ambitions?
Yeah, beyond just dealing with Henry's, time traveling issues.
Right.
Okay, so we've got this complicated romance going on.
Yeah.
A little bit of a maybe questionable power dynamic.
Okay.
And then this whole time travel element.
Mm-hmm.
Does the book actually explain, like, how the time travel works?
It kind of glosses over the mechanics of it.
Okay.
We know it's involuntary. He can't control it. He often arrives naked, disoriented,
Right, right.
but we don't really get into the science of it. Like,
Yeah.
how is this actually possible?
Yeah.
It's more about how his condition impacts his relationships, his sense of self, his whole outlook on life.
Sure. I guess if I was suddenly, like, transported back to the Middle Ages,
Right.
I wouldn't really be worried about, like, the physics of it all.
Yeah.
I'd just be trying to survive.
Exactly.
But it does make me wonder about the whole, like, fixed timeline thing.
Right.
Does Henry have any free will?
Yeah.
Or is his life, and by extension Claire's life, just like a set path?
Yeah. And that is something the book grapples with a lot. Like,
Okay.
if you know what's going to happen,
Yeah.
can you actually make choices?
Does it even matter?
Does it?
Yes.
And, what about the ethics of all this?
Right.
Can you interfere with events?
Even if you think you're doing the right thing?
Yeah. Even if you think you're helping.
Yeah.
Who knows what kind of consequences could come from that?
Yeah, that's pretty deep.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's a lot more to this book than just a simple romance.
Exactly. I mean, on the surface, it's a love story.
Yeah.
But there are these deeper themes about fate, free will, the nature of time, how our past and future are all connected.
So like Romeo and Juliet, but with time travel and existentialism?
Pretty much.
Okay, I can dig it.
Yeah.
You mentioned Kindred by Octavia Butler earlier as
Yeah.
a possible comparison.
Yeah.
That also has time travel in it.
Uh-huh.
But it's a very different kind of story, right?
Very different.
Yeah.
The time traveler's wife is really focused on that romantic relationship,
Okay.
whereas Kindred takes a much darker, more historical approach.
Okay.
So our main character, Dana, is a black woman living in the 1970s,
Okay.
and she suddenly finds herself pulled back in time to a pre-Civil War Maryland plantation.
Wow. Okay, so no happy romantic stuff there.
No, not so much.
That sounds really intense.
It is.
Yeah.
Very powerful book.
So how do those two books compare in terms of like exploring the impact of time travel on relationships?
I mean, they both use time travel to kind of examine these complex human connections,
Okay.
but they go about it in totally different ways.
Okay.
The time traveler's wife is about love that transcends time.
Okay.
And how do you maintain a relationship when one person is constantly disappearing?
Right.
Kindred uses time travel to force Dana to confront the realities of slavery and racial injustice.
Oh, wow.
She's facing the trauma of the past head on.
Yeah, that sounds really heavy.
It is.
And so Kindred is more about that like emotional and psychological impact of like seeing the past firsthand.
Exactly. It's about understanding the legacy of history, how it shapes our present, and the bonds between generations.
So two very different time travel stories.
Very different.
Okay, so to help our listener decide about the time traveler's wife, let's recap what we've learned from both of these sources.
All right, so Fantasy Book Review, not impressed.
Right.
5 out of 10.
They really didn't like it.
Not really. They criticized Henry, thought the book was sometimes too graphic.
Okay.
But they did like the premise and the way the author handled the multiple timelines.
Okay, yeah.
Goodreads, much more divided.
Yeah, I saw that.
Some people loved the love story and the deeper themes.
Yeah.
Others thought the relationship was iffy and the writing was boring.
So kind of a love it or hate it situation.
Exactly. This is not a book that everyone agrees on.
So how should our listener weigh all these opinions?
Yeah.
Is it worth reading, or are there better books out there?
I mean, it really depends on what you're looking for.
Okay.
If you're into unconventional romance, time travel, fate versus free will,
Yeah.
then you might love it.
Okay.
But if you want a book with strong characters, a plot that isn't too crazy,
Yeah.
and writing that keeps you hooked,
Yeah.
you might want to consider something else.
And if you're looking for a time travel story that really digs into his historical and social issues,
Yeah.
Kindred might be a better choice.
Kindred is a great option.
Okay, so we've presented all the evidence,
We did our best.
the good, the bad.
All the time travel shenanigans.
Now it's up to you, listener.
You decide.
But before you do,
Okay.
let me ask you this. If you could time travel, but you couldn't control it,
Yeah.
would you just like lean into the chaos like Henry does?
Right?
Or would you just spend your whole life trying to fight it?
I mean, that's really what this book is all about, right?
Yeah.
That like push and pull,
Yeah.
like time travel. It's so appealing on the surface.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine, seeing historical events, walking with dinosaurs,
Right.
But the reality is it's probably going to be way more complicated
Oh, for sure.
than we imagine.
Yeah, it's fun to think about
Yeah.
going back and fixing a mistake or,
Yeah.
Being at a concert that you missed or something.
Right, but then what about
Yeah.
the unintended consequences?
Right. What if you mess everything up?
Yeah, you change one little thing.
Yeah.
And who knows what could happen.
Yeah, it's kind of scary to think about.
It is.
Makes you wonder if it's better not to know.
Right, like, is ignorance bliss?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Would you really want to know your own future if you couldn't change it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Like, does that take all the fun out of life?
It could, right.
The mystery.
You lose the excitement of not knowing.
Right, exactly.
The time traveler's wife kind of makes the case that
Yeah.
knowing the future, even just bits and pieces, can be a real downer.
Yeah, for sure.
It can make you anxious,
Yeah.
even depressed.
So maybe this book,
Yeah,
even with all its problems,
right.
is like a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
Like, don't mess with time,
It might not be all it's cracked up to be.
even if you can't help it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It challenges our ideas about time travel.
Yeah.
It's not just about zipping around to different eras. It's about how our relationship with time shapes our lives, our choices, who we are.
So it's not just a love story.
No, it's deeper than that.
It's about,
It's about time,
yeah.
choices, things we can't control,
Yeah.
and how we connect with each other even when things are crazy.
Okay, so there you have it.
The Time Traveler's Wife.
A book that might make you laugh, might make you cry.
Might make you check your watch a little more often.
Definitely a wild ride.
It is.
So if any of this sounds interesting to you,
Give it a shot.
check it out. But just be prepared for a journey
A
that's
little predictable.
as time itself.
Exactly.